Hello, everybody. This is Ralitsa Vassileva for Global Atlanta. I'm sitting here with David O'Sullivan. He's the EU ambassador to the United States. He is visiting Atlanta for his annual outreach trip. Tell us a little bit more. What brings you to Atlanta?
Well, I'm very delighted to be accredited to the United States government in Washington, which is a fantastic place to live and, of course, a very, very interesting cauldron of economic and political activity. But I'm conscious that it doesn't necessarily represent the full diversity of this great United States, and that it's important that I also visit other parts of America in order to understand what's going on, and of course to talk about EU-US relations. So I'm setting aside 2 or 3 days a month to travel to different parts of the United States, and Atlanta was high on my list because it's a very important economic center. It's a hub with the busiest airport in the world, and with a lot of European investment, which is creating jobs for Americans, and this is an important point of destination.
Ambassador, we couldn't have been meeting at a busier week news-wise. The EU has been in the news. The most tragic news is the loss of life, the biggest loss of life on EU shores from migrants fleeing war and poverty, trying to reach Europe. What are the immediate measures that Europe is going to take to save lives?
Well, of course, in the first instance, this is a human tragedy, and our thoughts go to the people who lost their lives and to their families and relatives who are grieving. This was a tragic accident involving the collision of the boat carrying the migrants and a vessel which was actually trying to offer assistance. But I agree, it is symptomatic of a much wider problem. The Italian government, which deserves great credit, has already been very active in helping migrants in distress at sea. They've rescued over 100,000 people. We have set up very sophisticated systems of reception camps, both in Italy and in Greece, and Malta is also heavily involved. The basic problem, of course, is the breakdown of law and order in North Africa, which means that the traffickers have been able to take control and put people on unseaworthy vessels and send them out to sea at great peril to their lives.
Is the EU going to increase the patrol, the search and rescue? It has scaled down a program that the Italian government had last year, and some critics have said that this is contributing to the loss of life.
Well, I think the primary responsibility for the loss of life goes with the traffickers, who are basically recklessly endangering the lives of innocent people and unsuspecting people who are being put on boats that are clearly not ready for fit for purpose. But I agree, we need a comprehensive approach. We need to address the immediate issue of what is happening on the sea. We need to address the issue of the traffickers themselves and try to disable their ability to put large numbers of people out to sea. We need to address the issue of stability in the countries of transit, such as Libya. And of course, we need to address the fundamental issue, which is the economic situation in which these people live, in order to make it more promising for them to stay at home. The European Union is the largest donor of development assistance in the world, in particular to Africa. And we are also one of the largest donors in the world of humanitarian assistance. But of course, this is a complex issue. The European Council, the highest decision-making body of the European Union, will meet tomorrow specifically to discuss this issue, and I'm sure that they will announce a further range of measures.
You mentioned that the instability in Africa is causing these people to flee. The biggest problem appears to be right now Libya, the biggest lawlessness. ISIS is also very active there. A lot of the boats are originating in Libya. How is the EU going to address this bigger problem? Is the US also going to be involved in a solution?
Well, the primary driver of trying to find a political solution is the United Nations. The special representative of the Secretary General, Bernardino Leon, who's a former Spanish diplomat, is actively engaged in trying to get the two sides back to the table to negotiate a political solution. And he and the United Nations has the full support of the European Union and of the United States. We need a political breakthrough in order to be better able to address the security issue. You're absolutely right. What has happened is the breakdown of law and order in Libya, which has opened the way for these human traffickers to exploit the misery of the migrant people and to put them on boats, putting their lives at risk. This is a complicated process to try and find a political solution in Libya. It has so far eluded us, but we will continue to make every effort to put in place a functioning government which can resume the role of acting as a provider of security and cracking down on the traffickers. We're also looking at the possibility of independent action to attack the traffickers along the lines of what we did on counter-piracy off the coast of Somalia, because we have a very major naval operation, Atalanta, which has been very successful in countering piracy off the coast of Africa, which is a very similar type of problem in the sense that on the one hand it starts with pirates, but the real problem is actually lack of opportunity back in their country of origin, lack of economic progress, lack of good political governance. So that the pattern is always the same. You see a breakdown of the economic situation, a collapse of the political order, and then you get the resultant either refugees or people turning to piracy or human trafficking. So we know the nature of the problem. We just have to find ever more effective ways of trying to deal with it.
So, to what extent the priority would be, given the growing nature of the problem, offering people, more and more people, a better way to apply for asylum? Because people are desperate. They are fleeing desperation. They're going to try to reach Europe's shores any way they can. So, again, how are they going to be able to legally apply for asylum? For example, they have to get to Britain to apply for asylum there. They cannot apply from their countries of origin.
No, because the rules of asylum basically require you to have left your country and to land somewhere on European soil. I mean, this is the arrangement which we have, that people who land on European soil or who find their way to European soil, who apply for asylum, are entitled to do so, and there are very sophisticated systems of processing that. I think we have to be clear as to what constitutes asylum. Many of the people are simply fleeing economic poverty, lack of economic perspective. The asylum rules were definitely designed to face people facing persecution or people facing a threat to their lives because of a political situation. So I think asylum is only one part of the answer to what is essentially an issue of lack of economic perspective. And therefore we will need to act on many fronts. The asylum front is one. The question of economic investment to try to improve the economic situation in Africa, which, by the way, is not all bad, because there is some good news coming out of Africa. But it is clear that in those countries which are experiencing political turmoil and war, then it's almost impossible to have a correct economic situation. As Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General, said, you cannot have development without security, but you cannot have security without development. And it's the nexus between these two issues that needs further work.
Ambassador David O'Sullivan, EU Ambassador to the United States, thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you.